Hey everyone, as you probably know, Habroxia 2 and My Aunt is a Witch are both available for pre-order as a limited physical Vita game. Now, Habroxia 2 is a timed pre-order, so you have until the new year to put an order in for that if you're interested. And My Aunt is a Witch is limited to 1,200 copies. When those are sold out, that is it. Now, what I wanted to do today is actually take a look at the Habroxia 2 trailer and compare that to the newly released Xbox One version of Habroxia and see what the differences are and see if it's worth picking up this game on the PlayStation Vita. If you guys are wondering about My Aunt is a Witch, well, I recently played through it. I had a decent time with it, but I was playing the digital version, which is much cheaper. And honestly, it's good for the price. I just don't think it's worth picking up a $35 physical edition for most people. Now, I noticed a lot of people are looking at this game and thinking it's a visual novel. And to some degree, by definition, I suppose it is. But I can tell you that the writing quality isn't up to par with most visual novels, but it is still fun in its own way. In this game, you'll be serving as the witch's apprentice, continually searching the house looking for ingredients to mix potions. The house keeps changing as the story progresses and as you need new ingredients. This is basically to keep things fresh while limiting the exploration to the same few rooms. It's a lot harder to recommend for $35. I think you should only go for this one if you want it as part of a physical Vita collection, but not necessarily just to play the game. If you just want to play it, maybe consider picking up the digital release instead. Now, this game still is available for pre-order as of December 13th, and I have got no idea on how many copies are left over. I have not heard any word on that. From everything I'm hearing, a lot of people are starting to get tired of keeping up with the Vita releases. I'm personally glad that they're still coming out because I'm building up a library that I can play for many years after we stop getting releases on the Vita. But I totally understand the fatigue, especially from anyone that may have all of the English releases up to this point, but are ready to move on and are unsure about stopping when you've already come all this way. If you feel this way, it's probably just a signal that you need to take a break. Don't worry about missing out. You'll always be able to trade for these later if you change your mind. Now, as for Habroxia 2, I'm looking at the trailer and I needed a reminder of what the first game was like. So I noticed it just released on Xbox One, so downloaded that version, which also has a new boss rush mode, which is kind of cool. And I replayed it all the way through. The first thing I'm reminded of is that the music isn't so great. I'll play a few clips and let you judge for yourself, but it's not exactly something I'm happy to own the soundtrack for. It has an 8-bit NES sound to it, but the unfortunate thing is that most 8-bit NES games have better soundtracks than this. Now here's the music from the Habroxia 2 trailer. me, this sounds much better, but it's hard to say whether or not they just picked the one good track for the trailer, or if all of the Habroxia 2 tracks will be of this quality. Now, moving on to the visuals, the graphics were a bit repetitive in Habroxia 1. The level borders were recycled with different color palettes on each stage, and the background was dark and bland. The bosses are all pretty interesting, and there's a small variety of enemy types. Now, comparing this to the Habroxia 2 trailer, I can see that the graphics have improved a bit. There are more background types, some new rock graphics, and there are some really interesting color palettes. Unfortunately, it looks like some of the bosses have been recycled from the first game, and there are a lot of returning enemy types, but we see a decent amount of new bosses and enemy types thrown in as well. As far as the gameplay goes, Habroxia 1 is a very easy game, but if it weren't easy enough, you can always replay levels to grind for more credits to buy permanent upgrades for your ship. There are a decent number of levels to play with some variations and things to do from mission to mission, such as rescuing astronauts, boss battles, or just blasting your way through the level. Then there are both vertical and horizontal scrolling stages. There's a local scoreboard if you feel like competing against yourself, although this can be somewhat pointless since later in the game you'll have more power-ups, which gives you an unfair advantage against your old self. So it seems like this was maybe thrown in for no purpose other than to just say it has leaderboards. It's hard to comment on the gameplay from Habroxia 2, but from what we can see in the trailer, there are multiple routes that you can take now rather than the linear level progression from the first game. And the biggest difference of all is that we now have a twin stick shooter. So you can actually aim your shot in a different direction, which should switch up the gameplay significantly. There are a wider assortment of weapon types and basically just a lot more content than in the first game. We also have a new game plus with harder enemy types, but we have yet to see how that all balances out after your ship is fully upgraded. From everything I'm seeing though, if you liked the first game, then the second game should not disappoint. I really hope the soundtrack is improved though, especially since the East Asia Soft editions all come with a soundtrack CD. I mean, they could have easily skipped the soundtrack CD from the first release as far as I'm concerned, but we'll just have to wait and see how this one sounds. Anyway, hopefully that helps any of you on the fence about making a decision, but if you're feeling the release fatigue and are simply on the fence about maintaining a complete collection, remember, video games are for you to enjoy. Buy what you want to play. Alright guys, well that's going to do it for today. Let me know if you are planning on picking up these releases or if you've already ordered them. I have already ordered mine. Like I said, I'm trying to get a huge PlayStation Vita library because I want to be able to play my PlayStation Vita long into the future, long after the final release, and especially these English titles. So I'm always happy to see them. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Until next time, I will see you later.